Imagine walking into a town where life has simply stopped. No screams, no signs of struggle, just silence. This is the reality investigators faced in the winter of 1930, when they journeyed deep into the Canadian wilderness to a remote Inuit settlement along the frozen shores of Anjikuni Lake. The story begins with a lone fur trapper named Joe LaBelle. On a bitterly cold evening, he trudged through the snow, searching for shelter. He knew this village well. He had traded with its people many times. He expected laughter, smoke from chimneys, the welcoming warmth of firelight spilling through window cracks. But as he approached, something was wrong. The village looked still, too still. The kind of stillness that prickles at the back of your neck, making you hesitate before taking another step. When LaBelle entered, his unease only deepened. The huts still stood, doors yawning open into the cold. Inside, the fires had burned down to ash, their warmth long gone. Meals lay frozen on tables, half-eaten, abandoned in haste. Heavy fur coats hung neatly on pegs. Tools sat ready for use. It looked as though the villagers had simply stepped out moments earlier, yet there was no one. Not a single living soul. LaBelle wandered from hut to hut, calling out names he knew. The silence answered him. His boots crunched through snow, echoing across the empty settlement. No laughter, no crying children, just wind. And then he found the dogs. A pack of sled dogs, vital for survival in the harsh Arctic, remained tied to posts outside. But they were lifeless, starved, frozen stiff in the snow. For an Inuit family to abandon their dogs was unthinkable. These animals were companions, protectors, transport, often treated better than kin. Their neglect screamed of something unnatural. Nearby, rifles rested against walls, ammunition untouched, food stores full. No signs of migration, no sled tracks leading away into the wilderness, no human footprints, just nothing. But the most chilling discovery came at the graveyard. When investigators finally arrived days later, they examined the burial site at the edge of the settlement. What they found was beyond disturbing. Graves had been opened, not in chaos, not like an animal's digging, but carefully, deliberately. Wooden caskets stood ajar, and the bodies that once rested inside were missing. No explanation, no clues, only absence. The official records later buried the story in obscurity, dismissing it as hearsay or folklore. Skeptics called it a myth, an invention of frightened trappers, embellished with each retelling. But those who studied it closely knew better. How could dozens of people, men, women, children, disappear without leaving a trace? Where could they go with no supplies, no sleds, no winter gear? In temperatures that could freeze exposed flesh within minutes, it was impossible. And yet, they were gone. And then, there were the lights. Multiple hunters in the region reported strange phenomena in the sky that same night. Some described glowing orbs drifting across the frozen lake. Others swore they saw massive shapes blotting out the stars, moving silently above the treetops. Were these lights natural? Aurora borealis twisted into something strange? Or were they something else entirely? Theories quickly spread. Some believed it was alien abduction, that the entire village had been taken in one fell sweep, lifted from their homes and into the sky. Others pointed towards supernatural causes. A curse, a spirit of the land reclaiming what was hers. And of course, there were human explanations, though none less terrifying. Perhaps a secret massacre, hidden from history. Perhaps cult activity, an entire community walking willingly into the night. But if so, where were the bodies? None of the explanations make sense. And maybe that's the point. The case of Anjikuni Lake has become a ghost story, a legend. But unlike most legends, it is anchored by disturbing details, the abandoned meals, the dead dogs, the empty graves. These are not the inventions of imagination. These are facts that someone, at some point, had to confront with their own eyes. Imagine, for a moment, being one of the last villagers, standing at the edge of camp, hearing something in the distance, a low hum, a whisper across the frozen night air. Watching your family walk toward it, compelled, their eyes vacant, their feet silent on the snow. And then nothing. Imagine stepping outside the hut only to find you are the last. The final heartbeat in a world gone still. The silence pressing down like a weight. The air too empty, as though something vast has inhaled and never exhaled. That is the horror of the silent village. It is not in what was found, but in what wasn't. No bodies, no footsteps, no answers, just absence. An entire world erased as though it had never been there at all. And Anjikuni Lake is not alone in this mystery. Because sometimes it isn't whole villages that vanish. Sometimes it is the people who step across the threshold of a single building, never to walk back out.